Hey team, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Hope you're all having a great weekend. Today's topic I wanted to touch on the concept of half marathon mistakes and some of the things that I did over the years to not only stop myself from really progressing, but also later on as I made those adjustments, I was able to eventually run 1:07:06 for the half marathon. And obviously it didn't, great results in that particular distance didn't happen overnight. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made as a long distance runner was improper pacing. I was very impatient early on in my races. I was far too aggressive too soon in my races, especially earlier in my career. And the great thing about this is you can always work on this. You can always correct those particular mistakes because if you adjust how you pace, you're going to always finish, or you're going to have a much higher percentage, you're going to have a much higher chance of success if you just stay patient in the early miles, early kilometers of your race. For me personally, I was always trying to run very fast times, and so the goal paces that I was going for, I was always aiming for that in the early stages of the race and kind of hoping to be able to sustain that pace throughout the whole race. The problem was I was not mature enough earlier in my career to be able to sustain those paces. That's why I always stress to you all on all of my videos the importance of running well below goal race pace and being patient. The most important trait of the most successful middle to long distance runners that I've worked with over the years was they're extremely patient. They have a plan. They have a long-term vision. They believe in delayed gratification. And so whatever you're doing, whatever goals that you have in mind, you have to have the patience in order to see them through. It may take you another year. It may take you a few years to get to a point where you're in that flow state where you're able to sustain that goal pace, whatever that goal pace is, for the entire duration of the race. Because a lot of us can handle goal race pace for a certain segment of the race, but especially in that last 10 kilometers of a half marathon where you're the weakest mentally, where you're really struggling physically, physiologically, and being able to hold that pace is absolutely critical. But the biggest mistake probably that I made over the years in the half marathon was just improper pacing. So the same with you. If in the past you have not hit your half marathon goal, and maybe you've hit it for a certain segment of the race, but you just are having issues in the latter stages of the last few miles of the race, start seeing how you ran those races in the past. How aggressive were you? And how much time did you spend training at, near, and far below goal half marathon race pace? Because that's another one of the mistakes I was making. I was running too many of my miles and too many of my kilometers too slow. Again, it's not about the volume you're doing, because if you're running 100 miles a week, I don't know wherever that is in kilometers, but that's a very high volume week, and you're doing that consistently week after week. Yes, you are going to be very strong. You're going to be very your endurance is going to be very high. But again, if you're running too many of those miles and kilometers too slow, and you're running far too aerobic, and you're not spending enough time training at the anaerobic threshold for long periods of time, especially for a half marathon, and you're not doing that once per week VO2 max workout, if you're not doing that sufficiently and doing it enough and consistently enough, it's going to be very difficult for you to hit your half marathon race pace goals that you have in mind. Again, the VO2 max is you're training at maximum effort. And so again, when we go out on the track and we do, repeat intervals, or we're out on the roads doing fartleks, maybe like 2 minutes hard, 1 minute easy, 2 minutes hard, 1 minute easy, doing repeats of that, doing hill repetitions where you're running at maximum efforts. You're sprinting up the hills and jogging down the hills. If you don't have a high enough percentage of hill repetitions, hill workouts, intervals, longer pace tempo runs, or longer tempo runs and faster long runs during your buildup, then it's going to be difficult for you to hit your half marathon paces and goals that you have in mind. So start looking at how you're setting up your training. That's the mistakes I was making in the past. Is again, I wanted to run these fast times, but I wasn't preparing myself sufficiently and properly enough in order to hit them. And so the adjustments that I made to eventually run 1:07:06, I ran that time at the 2007 Philadelphia half marathon. It was called the Philadelphia Distance Classic back in 2007. Now I think it's the Rock and Roll Philadelphia Half Marathon. The course is flat, super competitive. The winner of my race that year, I think, ran like 101. The top three guys, I think, ran around 101, 102 range. And I think I was the fourth American in the race with 107.06. I hit multiple personal bests through splits through there. Hit 15:19 for 5K, which, you know, my personal best for 5K is 14:18, but still it was a very aggressive race. Went through 10K in around 31:32, hit 10 miles in 50:54, and ended up with 107.06. And so again, I was ready to do it at that day. I was ready to hit that pace that I was going for, because I had spent so much time training well below 5-minute mile pace, under 5-minute mile pace in training, that I was able to eventually hit that 5:07 mile pace for 13.1 miles. And again, it didn't happen overnight. I ran 1:13 when I was in college in my first half marathon. So you have to look at what you're going for, what types of times you're going for, and make a plan. You know, I think it's another big mistake is I was just kind of winging it. I was just kind of, you know, I was guessing at what types of workouts I really needed to do. And then once I started following a plan and started studying what the world's best marathoners, half marathoners, middle distance runners were doing, then I started to make significant changes in how I was setting up my training. And with that, started to get very good results from my preparation and races. Your nutrition, you have to pay attention to that as well. Do the best you can, steer clear of fast foods and sodas and things of that sort, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy those things. It just means that you have to be more cognizant of, you know, eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, carbohydrates, because you're putting in so many miles and kilometers each week. You need to have that energy. We're burning a ton of calories each week in the workouts that we do, so you have to pay attention to the little details that go into great half marathon performances. And with that, you also have to start paying attention, which I had to make adjustments to, was my sleep. Again, I was studying what the world's best runners were doing, and what they did was were eating a balanced diet, very, very high quality foods, plenty of fruits and vegetables, apples, bananas, grapes, blueberries, carbohydrates, those types of things, as well as getting plenty of sleep. These athletes are 100% committed to what they're doing. Other mistakes that I made was, again, looking at what other runners were running and comparing myself to those runners. The longer you're in this sport, you know, you stop worrying about those types of things. When you're younger, you worry so much about, you know, there's a lot of runners that kind of compare themselves to what other athletes did. Well, so-and-so did this, and if, you know, he or she can run that time, I know I can run that time. It's good to have that motivation and mindset, but at the end of the day, you can only focus on what you can control yourself. Don't try to compare yourself to other athletes. It just takes less, you know, it takes the pressure off of you. You can focus on other things that are more important. Do your best. And other mistakes I made, if you're trying to run a fast half marathon, then find a half marathon course that's going to set you up for success, a fast course. You know, examples of fast courses, you know, Columbus. If you're in Europe, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Paris. If you're in the United States, like I said, Columbus. Chicago has Virginia Beach half marathon, super fast. Indianapolis half marathon, super fast. Philadelphia, of course. If you really want to run a fast half marathon, go to Philadelphia. That course is super quick. And I say super quick because meaning it's flat. You obviously have to be in phenomenal shape yourself to make a course fast. We hear it all the time. Oh, that's a fast course. No, it's not a fast course. It's a fact that the athlete's in phenomenal shape and ready to run fast on that course. These are just a few of the half marathon mistakes that I made over the years, and I hope it's helpful to at least hear some of the things that, you know, I was doing wrong and how I made those adjustments. Again, I was in the past running long runs far too slow, so another mistake that I made was doing that. I adjusted that, started running varied pace, much faster long runs, running around 85% of my maximum heart rate, or around 160 beats per minute, and going from running very easy long runs to very fast, very aggressive long runs, significantly helped me lower my personal best from 113 to 107.06 and my marathon from 243 to 219. So think about these things as you're preparing for your races in 2022. And there are a lot of resources here on the channel, as well as on RunDreamAchieve.com. I have training plans and running courses as well that are there for you if you want to take your running to the next level. Feel free to leave me a comment below if you have any other questions or concerns, any other topics you want me to cover in my next video. I'd be definitely happy to do that. And you all know I always respond to you if you have a question, or just if you leave a comment, let me know in the comment section below what mistakes you've made in your preparation. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and I will talk to you all in the next video.